I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired from my last job. Hot-wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Beat my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way.
Hey, folks, good morning. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show with Without Ash this morning. I'm your host, Brent. Just want to share thank you for everybody jumping in. Cody and I were having a fairly in-depth conversation. The commander's here. His mic is hot.
Howdy.
Did not mean you had to use it, but just wanted you to know it was hot in case you had some guttural bodily function over there that might, attack our airwaves. But along with Riker the Wonder Dog is here. Get me. It's like on airplane. Get me. What was that guy's name? Stryker. What was that guy's name? Get me Rex Kramer. That's who it was. You remember the movie Airplane?
No.
See, you're young enough that to you that's, this is dumb. You just go right by it. One of the great movies of all time, because what they did is they took so many people and had them out of character. Leslie Nielsen was a character actor, much like the guy that does the Farmers commercials?
Yeah.
He's been in a gazillion movies.
Right.
That's who Leslie Nielsen was. But he was always kind of the heavy, or he was always kind of a serious guy, a role player. Right. Well, then they made him act against type, like Peyton Manning does in commercials. Very serious, cerebral, NFL tough guy quarterback. And then he plays a lunatic. I'm Peyton Manning too, and he's painting. It's all against type.
I have seen this movie.
Okay.
I just couldn't tell you about it. I know it's on an airplane for part of it.
I mean, you had Barbara Billingsley, who was Beaver Cleaver's mom, the quintessential American suburban mother, always in a dress, always with a necklace. And she's going, "Excuse me, sir, I speak jive," and like slapping this black guy on the plane. Totally out of character. They take all these people. And that was the deal when they needed to get a hold of, was it Robert Stack? Get me Rex Kramer.
So Callie Fromme on the show yesterday. Today, you and her on the same wavelengths. As you're saying it, she is quoting "I Speak Jive."
There you go.
That just shows you the power of this radio show.
And the age of me and Callie. But it's the Riker, the Wonder Dog. So it's Riker for RY for Rylan, K for Caden and all the other kids, and ER for the last two letters of Carter. That's where Riker came from. Ricky King, first one in. Mark Kurtz, good morning to you, my brother. And Rena Shear for the second day in a row on the podium. Greg Garcia, morning, brothers. Scott Tomko, Junior Samples, Bobby Leister. You're right. It is a pre-Caldo Tuesday. Today is a great day to get into Veracruz. Get in today, have the full menu minus the Caldo. You'll be thrilled with the best Mexican food in town.
Do you think they'll ever make Caldo every day of the week?
No, because it's very time consuming. It's a process. They don't just
not just microwave and
no way, man. No, they're browning meat and stewing meat. It's wonderful. Caldo de res. It's beef stew, and it's just wonderful. Tammy Williams, Linda Christ, Wendy Hughes Garcia, Randy Langston. There's Micah Patton from the school board. We're going to be joined, I think, in a few minutes with another school board candidate. Andy Rokovich, I believe, is going to join us. Mark Zapata, Stephanie Connie, Scott Tomko. Junior Samples is like he's in a free Cody mode. He's like, Cody should be hot mic'd all the time. He typically is.
Junior.
There's Judge Posey. Good morning, sir.
Junior, I will still call you back.
He'll never call. Junior, he's never going to call you.
I owe him a call from last Friday.
Yeah, he never liked you, Junior. How many days is that in a row? Like 5? That's 120 hours. Never called you. Sherry Jacobs, Adam Daughtry, Dottie Bitterly. There's Jarrett McCrugan, better known as the Kraken. There you go. Callie Fromme, Sarah Elkins, Torrin Bales. Hey, Tripper. Torrin Bales' grandson's one of my favorite people. Just a great little man. Love him to death. Blake McCracken, Monty Howard, Jordan Glass. There you go. And Junior Samples points out, I think correctly, Callie is kind of like Mrs. Cleaver. Yeah. Andrew Alvarez. So Callie's husband, Travis, they left town and went out to the ranch the other day. And not only did Travis, Commander, kill a copperhead, pretty nice one, pretty nice length.
Are they going to put that on their wall now?
Well, Travis makes like bracelets and stuff out of snake skin. But great hobby.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't think he's in it for the money. I think he does it for fun.
Get rid of the bodies.
But they skinned it, and then they had the snake, the pink, like, you hear about fried rattlesnake, or they had the meat. Well, he cut that open. What's interesting is Snake's head was gone.
Well, that's good.
Snake had been skinned. When they cut through and opened up the meat of the snake,
still moved.
Its heart was still beating.
Oh, weird.
So with no brain impulse, of which I wouldn't think a copperhead has a huge brain, with no brain impulse, the heart was still beating, and Travis took a razor blade and cut through that layer, and there was a mouse in there about that big that he had eaten.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. So,
did they fry it up, have some nice dinner?
No, I've never heard of fried copperhead. I've heard of fried rattlesnake. Now, we'll give you some trivia. In about 2015 or 16, I don't remember the exact year, the numbers probably don't vary much.
Dates are hard, I understand.
But I mean, even to today, 37,000 people in 2015 were reportedly bitten by a copperhead. You know how many died?
2.
None.
Oh.
So there you go. Copperhead bites are not fatal. They will just, as my daddy said, make you wish you were dead. The Wade and Carter weather is brought to you by the great, great folks at AT Deerland Feed. I just marvel every day when I turn onto the street, even though we're going through the second winter of 25.
We will rebuild.
Has just popped. And now my neighbors are like, come on, Carter, what do you do to your grass? What do you do? I go, well, the dog pees on it 57 times a day. Must be high in nitrogen. But Stephanie Conti with some mindless trivia. My sister was bitten by a copperhead. Is that kind of like grandma got run over by a train?
Reindeer?
Yeah, there you have it. 42 degrees in Victoria right now, heading to a high of 77 under what is being called mostly clear skies. There's some high, thin clouds. Apparently, they're not spreading the contrails today. Lots to talk about. I put on the first comment on the way in, looks like Uncle Donald's got something going on. Now, I don't know. I'm more interested in what the left is going to spin in about next than I am about the fact that the left spun in about tariffs.
One of the differences in Donald and our previous president was I haven't seen Donald ask anybody to sit on his lap or demand ice cream while he's doing tariffs or whatever.
Apparently he does play a lot of golf, and that is really has him upset. Although he was described this morning on another program as Donald Trump is a table builder. That's what he really does, is he builds tables. He builds tables and then demands that people come sit and visit with him at the table. The table that we're at right now, the table being forced by these tariffs, is a table that we have not approached in years. Now, I wanted to read you something, if I could find it here, from the New York Times. Let's see. Okay, so here's one. This is a multi-part deal here. It says European Union officials are taking a two-part approach to, listen to this phrase, President Trump's unfolding trade war. Now, you remember when Trump said in his first term, we've been in a trade war with China. We're just losing. He is now spreading that globally. What I want to show you today is that the European Union, with their spokesman, Ursula von der Leyen, Leyen, she's the president of EU, that's 27 nations. She's a president of their bloc. She's the boss. She's their spokesperson. She says that the EU is willing to employ a 0 for 0 approach on products, including cars, eliminating tariffs on the goods if the United States did the same. EU tariffs are currently set at 10%. Now, I want you to listen to what Miss von der Leyen has to say. All right.
You should teach him to open
Andy,
the
come
door.
Get this dog. Get the dog.
Get the dog.
So look, go play with Riker. If you throw that yellow ball, he'll go get it. All right, look here.
You're abusing our guest.
Listen to Miss von der Leyen. Listen to this, folks. There you go. So she's saying, hey, let's just take a minute here. We're always ready for a good deal. A good deal where we get to keep selling BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche into the United States. Audi, Volkswagen. We buy millions of their cars. Millions. You can look around a town like Victoria. There's not one of those dealerships in this town. And look how many of those vehicles you see. So very interesting. It appears to me that the Donald dropped the hammer, and these people seem to want to discuss reality with Donald Trump. I think that's good. Now, to give you the other side of that pancake, President Trump on Monday threatened to impose a 50% tariff. I don't know how you can do that. We were already like at 20 something, I think, and then you add 34. Now we're going to add 50 more. I don't know. It's 100. Maybe it could be 150% tariff. I don't know. I would have thought 100 would be the top, but he says if he's threatening to impose a 50% tariff on imports from China. A massive escalation. So that's when I said Trump's feeling emboldened. I want you to think about the two countries that jump to the fore when it comes to digging their little heels into the sand against the U.S. One is China, the Communist Party, highly acknowledged to be America's primary enemy. Why can't you hear anything? Oh, you couldn't hear anything on the video. That's okay. I'm sorry. Be small, not funny. So I'm sorry. What she said was, and I apologize, I just saw that you can't hear it. Commander, why would that be? I could hear it fine on the headphones. Why couldn't they hear it on the broadcast?
You probably didn't push it out to them.
How do I do that?
There's a button.
Well,
we just won't worry about it unless you're going to replay it.
I would replay it. It's worth hearing. It's only 22 seconds. But anyway, hang on. So I use this button right here, which is where I can hear it. Push it up. See what it's not on Bluetooth. I'm getting it right here off the webpage.
Oh, it's not on Bluetooth.
No. So hey, it's a live program, folks. Let's deal with it. Let's see if you can hear this. Now is that going to do it? I never use that button. None of these buttons are lit. Now they can't hear it. It's okay if you can't hear it. Tell me if you can't hear it. I don't think they can hear it. Okay. I apologize. She said, we offer 0 for 0 tariffs because Europe is always ready for a good deal. That's what she said. And I apologize that you couldn't hear that. But the two countries that have really kind of dug their heels in, I haven't heard much from President Scheinbaum lately in Mexico. That would be the Jewish president of Mexico. Haven't heard much from her. But China, which is the Chinese Communist Party, and Canada. Now, here we are. We're dealing with a 27-nation block of countries called the European Union, who says, hey, 0 for 0 works for us, man. Don't put another, we tax y'all 10% on your cars. We'll go 0 for 0 if that works for you. They're coming to Trump. They came here. He didn't go to them. America first. They came to Trump. Now, Canada. We're not going to buy your booze. Do you realize how insignificant Canada is in the global picture? I encourage the president to stand his ground. I encourage him to stand his ground. I encourage you to, in the short run, just don't stare at your stock prices for a couple of weeks. Can you imagine what's going to happen when all these countries lower their requirements for us to export our goods and Europe starts wanting to drive an Escalade, when Europe starts wanting to own some of our products? I heard on the way in today, Bangladesh, 80% of Bangladesh exports are textiles, clothing, shirts, material, because we used to make that stuff in Tennessee and we subbed it all out for cheap labor. Now, it works with textiles. Bangladesh called the president, hey, can we rethink those tariffs? Because while our people don't make as much as your people, our people make more money than they've ever made in their lives making your textiles. We sure would like to keep shipping that over to you. Very interesting. They came to the president who put America first. We're seeing a reset. I heard J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance was at a conference. I don't have it right, like Dynamics, Dyna, whatever. It was a buzzword, Dynamatica, something like that. B Small comes in and says Ash could do it. Tammy Keeling says, no kidding. Thanks, Tammy. Ash probably did rig the bet. Thank you, Michelle Hawkins. I am doing a great job. I'm just not technically proficient. And this morning, neither is my producer extraordinaire. Yeah. Mark Salinas, great comment. America has never had allies. We have just had dependents. It's always been screw America. Tariffs don't work, but everyone has them on us. Okay. Makes you wonder how these countries that were literally porta potties, like Bangladesh, literally they're the porta potty outside the rodeo.
Was this the American Dynamism Summit?
That's it. That's where J.D. Vance was. No doubt. Torrin Bales. Let's see if we hear crickets from the people complaining. That's what I was talking about this morning about Trump's tariffs when the stock market soars. I agree. And Jared, it's an hour show. Sometimes we got to be simple. You're right. He says it's simplification for a big subject. I mean, I get it that if Canada didn't put a tariff on American dairy products, the Canadian dairy farmer would go out of business. I get it. Because of pricing, because of politics, we have American farmers, dairy farmers, dump more milk on the side of the road than Canada produces. I get it. You have to do something to level the playing field. The answer for Canada is become the 51st state. They won't do it. It would be great for them. I don't blame them. Too much pride. Good for them. Maybe that'll unify Canada, because right now it's Quebec and everybody else. It'd be nice if they did that. Greg Garcia, tariffs are a negotiating tool to level the playing field. The field has been rigged for quite some time. I agree 100%. 100%. So J.D. Vance, speaking at the American Dynamism Conference, he said that cheap labor, and the quest for it has been the drug that has stunted American innovation. Now soak that in. Cheap labor, the quest for it. We'll sub that out to China. We'll sub that out to Mexico. When you have a ton of cheap labor, you don't have a ton of innovation. You don't need innovation. You don't have to be efficient if you can just, we need 10,000 more sewing machines and 10,000 more slave laborers to build the T-shirts. You don't think about robotics because, just get 10,000 more people at $6 a week. The problem is, as people become really good at doing the menial things, like they thought that America, you would get an iPhone, right? And it would say, designed in Carlsbad, California. And just because it's made in China, nobody cares because it's an American product. Apple, America. Well, you've heard the Chinese talk about, and us talk about the Chinese and reverse engineering. They'll take that iPhone, they'll take it all apart. The people that do the menial tasks oftentimes learn how to innovate the product better than the people that designed it. They learn how to design on the fly. They learn how to modify, evolve, transition the product. And that's what's happened. So you get squeezed on both ends, right? Not only are you no longer making the product, you're not innovating the processes involved in building the product. And now your laborers have found a way to build a better product. And in many cases, that lack of innovation has hurt the United States. And it hurts the United States because we don't innovate. So the problem is you've got to bring that part of it back to the U.S. I think you'll see things that are currently made overseas by hand being made by robots and other things here in the United States, and it may and by American laborers. I think you're going to see that as well. I'm going back in here, so if somebody does want to call, I've got his Bluetooth up, just as Ash would do, and connected back to the motherboard. So there you go. I don't believe tariffs are going to hurt the American people. I think we've already seen, and the left becomes very unhinged about these things. We told you way back when, very short-term measure, 77 countries. We talk all the time about 167 countries. We don't do extensive trade with all of them. They're all of them are somewhat on the dole. But we don't trade heavily with all of them. So when you look at where these countries are, these 70 plus countries that have already come to Trump, when they start dropping their tariffs and we start dropping ours and we even up the playing field a little bit, the American economy is going to soar. So, but the Chinese, these foreign countries, especially Japan, was really good at it. For example, we created the transistor. We gave it to Japan. They made everything. They're the ones that took it and ran with it. Same thing with the Chinese, and they're still doing it today. Let's take a quick break, and then I'd love a call. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have a dissenting comment, love to hear it. Folks, the Dollar Floor Store is a great place. If you need to redo a bathroom, a kitchen, an entire house, or if you're building a house, go by and spec out the flooring from the Dollar Floor Store. Great folks, great prices. You can come in, Andy. He can get it. He can figure it out. He's stayed at a Holiday Inn Express once. Dollar Floor Store. Go by and see those folks. They're super, super nice, super easy to deal with, and you'll be thrilled with the products. Palace Bingo. Palace, where friends meet friends. Get out and play. Have a good time. You'll find that there's money to be made at Palace Bingo. Great folks and a great time. USA Concrete Coatings. Sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it, whatever you need done to concrete, they can do it. Whether you need your driveway leveled, cracks filled, tough as nails polyurethane, cut them with crack, stick, peel, or fade, they can do that as well. Allen's Record Service, 578-6300. By the way, USA, 578-HOME. Allen's Record Service, 578-6300. White Trash Site Services and White Trash Services. White Trash Site Services right now is doing the demo and haul off for Citizens Hospital. That's the size of projects they can do. There you go. Give them a call. 550-18. Anytime you cover your call for your next car. Get by and see Atson offer where they're stacking them deep, selling them cheap. Great folks. Go in the door, ask to speak to Tommy Taylor. Go talk to the owner. You'll be thrilled after you visit with Tommy. He'll tell you what's going on. So I'm back. The ads aren't as fun without Ash here to make fun of, but we do appreciate all of our sponsors. We're very blessed to have you all. I'm joined now, and I'm going to put this on you. There you go. Joined by Andy Rokovich. Andy, tell them who you are and what you're doing.
Well, my name is Andrew Rokovich. I think most of your audience has seen me.
Are
before.
you Andrew now? Are you grown up now?
I don't know. Not yet.
Should I refer to you as Andrew? Are we looking for a level of maturity that I've never seen?
You can call me Drew.
Drew, what's up, Drew? What's up?
There we go. Well, guys, the race is coming on. I came in, like I told you guys, I wanted to come in and get some of the hard questions. And now that the election starts, April 22nd, it's about time. It's about time to put the feet to the fire. And
2 weeks from today.
The early voting starts.
There you go.
Yep. So it's go time. It's time to get the message out. It's time to really start pushing onto why I'm running and what we're trying to do. And the reality is, there's a lot of stuff going on at VISD that is not has not been portrayed to the public. Our administration, our previous administration, and our previous board for a very, very long time has misled this community, has hid the numbers or fudged the numbers, has manipulated everything from our student success to the dollars that they spend. And it's about high time that this stuff gets the light of day. I'll give you a great example that nobody ever talks about. Last year's budget for VISD was $134 million.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and you know how I've been telling you guys that the actual budget was more like 150. Guess how much they spent?
How much?
$202 million.
Now, how did they do that? Where did it come from?
202. Well, 35 million of it came from new debt. So they borrowed $35 million last year.
Where'd they borrow that from?
I don't know.
Is that we hear them talking about the reserve fund? Is that
no? They lowered so every single account balance and ledger they have, like the general fund in 2022 at the end of school year had $51 million in it. At the end of the 2023 school year, the 23-24 school year, it had $39 million in it. Every account has been lowered and the debt has skyrocketed.
So
there's no doubt that since from 2019, the budget, the actual expenditures was $142 million. The budget that year was 131 million. As of 2024, they spent $202 million, an increase of 35% over a 4-year time span.
Wow. No, see, and yet we hear all the time.
$17,000 per student is what we spent last year at VISD. $17,000 per student. Does anyone think we got a quality education worth $17,000 from VISD?
No. See, but and yet the same people complain about vouchers, and we don't have to get into that today, but that's absolutely crazy. Jeff Finley, good morning. Mark Salinas says there's too much fat at VISD.
Way too much.
Michelle Hawkins wants to know, did you number your signs this year?
Did I number my signs?
So I guess if they're stolen, you can see where they were at the time or something? Or did you number them ever?
No.
Okay.
No.
Tell me now.
If someone steals my sign, I guess they want some decoration in their garage.
There you go.
That's fine by me.
Should I tell him I have 30 in my garage right now?
Yeah.
Should I not say
I
that?
pick them up every chance I get.
Okay.
I do.
I think they're still.
I'm hoping for a full wall, a focus wall.
Tell me about why did you inject yourself at the local protest the other day, and how did that go for you?
Well, the real question is, why weren't you guys there?
Well, because I didn't want to support. Now, you know what? So I gave a number yesterday. How many people would you say were there while you were there? Counting yourself, of course.
Counting myself, yeah. I'd say 50 to 60. It was.
They reported 160 people being there.
Oh no.
Okay,
no.
Just want to make sure because I didn't think
it was a bigger crowd than I expected. But I will tell you, it was just all the usual Democrats in town. I mean,
Yeah.
you probably knew
Ron Rayna.
Oh yeah, Ron was
Pat
there.
Talley, Jill Buchanan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ron's the only
Same
one that came
people
near
at the
me.
BLM rally. Same. Yeah.
And they need to learn that when you protest like that, it helps to get the curb. Because once when I came in with my big sign, they couldn't even be seen.
So tell me about you. You told me that you had an experience there that ended up ultimately involving law enforcement. I just wanted to see what.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is. They're out there trying to spread their words and their ideas, and I support that.
Sure.
I think it's a good sign of a thriving democracy to actually see them have a group out there, and
You're not going to get their votes. We don't pander to the 50 or 60. You're not going to get their votes.
I might have gotten one.
Really?
I don't know. But just an elderly lady. I don't know, why.
That sums it up. These are the old hippies, the old dope smokers from the 60s. Back in the day, the old dope smoking hippies, they were all like railing against the man, right? They were upset about the man. So we got to vote against the man. Now these same old dope smoking hippies, they're saying, keep your hands off the man.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the government. Don't touch the government. Don't change the government. It's the same protest, just in reverse, because over the years they became numb to the man, and now they are the man.
Yeah.
And nobody ever addresses this. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's just an obvious.
Well, they're circular logic. They're complaining about all of these tariffs, but how many years have they said we need to raise taxes, and now they're calling a tariff a tax, but it's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. and all the changes
paid to our federal government.
Remember Barack Obama talking about hope and change? The change was a lot of this stuff. I've heard the speeches because they've been playing them lately on more conservative radio. Barack Obama, if he actually had done what he talked about doing, of course, he would have been a Republican had he actually done it, but he talked about doing things that made sense. He said, hey, there's too much fat in the federal government. Hey, the debt is spiraling out of control. We need to cut spending. We need to eliminate some of these departments. I mean, I've heard the man say it. You'll notice Barack Obama's not railing against Doge. He's not, because he knows that the only reason it didn't work for him is he didn't have algorithms to ferret out the fraud, waste, and abuse.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's touching Victoria, that they found some waste here so quickly should show you how aggressive they're being.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they got down to the Victoria on the list to look at, I mean, good on them.
But there's where your Dems live. It's $321,000 a year to rent that little building over there on the loop. And at the end of the day, all the Dems care about is not being inconvenienced. Once every 5 or 6 years, I may have to go to that office, and that office ought to be there when I go.
I don't think they even care about it. They're just rabble rousers on that kind of stuff. Not one person at that little rally was really even talking about that. They were all talking. I had several people come up to me and goes, "Aren't you upset that you've lost 10% in your 401k?"
Boy, but just a couple of years ago, in Trump's first term,
oh yeah,
all they cared about was that Trump was doing everything for his rich friends to make them more money. Now he's costing his rich friends money, and the Dems are upset about that. Ricky King says, back to Andy and the school board.
Yes.
Feel free to tell folks what your plans are for the school board. I'll just let you go.
Well, my plans are to go in there and really bridge the gap between the community and what's actually happening at VISD. I don't want to be cliche and use the common terms, but Doge it. We have, again, $202 million is what we spent last year on 1,300 students. That is a lot of money.
13,000.
Sorry, 13,000 students. That is a lot of money. That is $17,000 per student, and we are not even getting $8,000 in quality back for our money. There's so many programs that we have that are ran through our administration that are good ideas. A lot of talk has been made about the Bridge program and how amazing it is. It's getting our unaccredited teachers to be accredited. We have 1 in 5 teachers that are not accredited. That is hundreds of teachers. 1 in 5 does not have accreditation. So they start a program called the Bridge program. It's the whole point of it is to get them to take the final college courses they need to get that accreditation and to take the accreditation class. The accreditation class is $5,000, and then however many college credits they may need. They spent $550,000 on that program last year and had 7 teachers get accredited. That's $78,000 per teacher to get accredited. If that teacher had done it on their own, it would have cost them $10,000. So we're literally just wasting and throwing money down the drain. That same $550,000 program had over $100,000 in administration salaries booked into it.
See, that's the terrible part, because those people are already there. They ought to be able to do that job without putting that burden back off on that program. But here's my question. Was the thought, the intent, was it that, hey, we're having to make emergency hires, we've lost a lot of good teachers, so we'll incentivize these people, saying we'll help pay for your college, and maybe they just haven't completed it yet?
When the abuse is that bad, that's obviously not their intent. You can get a teacher accredited for $10,000. You're talking 1 year, maybe max. They should have most of their college credits. 1 year of online classes that you could take at U of H right here in town, and then a $5,000 online class to get your final accreditation. You're looking at around 10 grand. We spent $78,000 per teacher to get 7 certified.
Not good.
Yep. And it's regardless of what their intention is, when the outcome is, destruction and mayhem, good intentions don't really matter at that point.
Hard to argue. You've clearly done homework. You've clearly spent time in the numbers. What else? I mean, how do you feel that you will mesh with? I mean, how do you see the makeup of the school board after this election?
I think it's going to be a bright change, pretty much regardless. But I'm not doing this to get along with anybody. I'm doing this because our students and our parents are struggling. Our community is struggling, and it's getting worse. Everyone has known that VISD is in the bottom 10% of schools, but even that number is fake. It's completely fake. They do the state accreditation, which is why there's been this big lawsuit going on. I don't know if anyone's aware of that, but several school districts in the state of Texas sued the TEA because school districts naming VISD being named as one are faking their numbers. And when they do that to put themselves higher up on the scale, someone else drops lower on the scale because of it. So what VISD has been doing is trying to manipulate the college ready and career ready numbers. So what they do is if you're, let's say 60% of your students are college ready, that's one number. And then another number is how many of your students are career ready.
Right.
They combine those two together. And as long as you're around 100%, 90 to 100%, you can get a B. The state average for college ready, the state average is 61%.
What's ours?
31%. The state average for career ready is 31%. What's ours? 61%. See how they're switched?
Right.
And of that 61% that's career ready, when they should be college ready, most of those students are technically college ready. They were just encouraged to take a floral design class so that can boost their numbers. 900 in 1 year students took a career ready class. Of those 900, more than 400 of them were BS classes, not a class that will prepare you for a career. So they literally manipulated these numbers to keep our high schools from an F. And our high schools truly are an F. And if they were an F, the state would take us over. That's the next step. The state is going to come into Victoria and take it over if things don't change. It's very clear.
It is important to note that just because we deem a kid to be college ready doesn't mean that any of us believe that every high school graduate should go to college. It just means that at least you've achieved enough in high school and had enough basics to be, that's an option on the table if you want it.
Most school districts, granted there's a lot of smaller districts, but most school districts require students to be college ready. You don't have an option of not taking Algebra 1. VISD, you don't have to take Algebra 1 if you don't want to.
Man, I would have excelled if I didn't have to take that stuff.
Right? You could have been Phi Beta Kappa.
I could have been in your seat.
If you were in floral design.
Yeah, well, 300 students in the floral program last year, and what do we have? 2 floral shops?
Yeah, there's no future there. Jennifer Rayburn points out, and this is what I was trying to say. She says, I understand that while 7 were accredited, there are others still in the program earning course credits to become accredited when they become eligible. Jennifer, $550,000 last year to only get 7 accredited when you can do it for $10,000 tells me that it's a racket.
And she's correct that it rolls over, but it's the same as the year before. I think there were 6 the year before, and the budget's still 550.
We'll spend 550 this year to get 5 more. Yeah.
So unless that changes to 40 this year, which I don't anticipate it.
I don't either.
Not only that, at 200, right? So 2021, we spent 150 million. 2022, 172 million. 2023, 179 million. 2024, 202 million. What is this year going to be?
Oh, 225?
Exactly. That's unfeasible.
Yeah.
Yet for almost a decade, we survived on 142 million spent.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The change in 4 years, and it's after COVID, it's after the year 2020 that these increases have hit us. So it's not a COVID thing. If anything, COVID should have been cheaper for the schools because, no electricity and whatnot.
Well, it's true. I mean, you look at it and you're like, well, so what do? You go in there day one and you throw this on the table and say, hey, what are we going to do about this? Or what do you do?
Basically, yeah. You task the administration to bring answers to these questions. Are these programs necessary? Why are we spending X, Y, and Z? And why do we have a $10 million budget for data processing? Why do we spend $13,000 for each high school library for a tracking system when, 20 books a day are checked out?
True story. There's a lot to be said for asking why.
Exactly. Now, the answers come with the transparency. I'm a big believer that problems get solved once they are shown the light of day. I'm not the person to tell here or sit here and give you a dissertation on every single thing and how to fix it. But I know none of this will be fixed until someone stands up and starts addressing it and putting it in plain English. We are failing.
Stuart Martin says, I'm not making excuses for the school district. Poor money, spending habits, but everything has gone up for everyone price-wise. Are you accounting for that?
Well, my daughter is at private school, like most of you guys know, and no, the tuition did not go up over the last 5 years.
There you go.
It certainly didn't go up nearly 40%.
Well, and you have to wonder, because what we do hear all the time is how that the school district's hands are tied. I am optimistic. I think Miss Coyazzo is off and running. I'm hoping that she gets a handle on these things. She does seem very willing to discuss anything with anybody. I always felt really good about Randy Meyer. So at the same time, you find yourself throwing, well, gee, how bad must it be? But I know that when you get your city tax, if you live in the city, 2/3 of your taxes go to the school district. So whatever your taxes are, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Jonathan Williams asked, will you put your daughter in public school if you're elected?
If I'm elected, I have a goal of helping our public schools be better, so that I would want to send my daughter there. Unfortunately, I'm a father first, and I'm not going to send my child to a school system that is failing its children. That's why I'm running.
I think that's an awesome reason to run. That's excellent.
I do wish I could send her there.
With a good conscience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not just going to do it, for votes. That's for sure.
The first time I ever heard it was a friend of mine who lived in Bernie, where his children were thriving. 2011, I was going to move back to Victoria. Purely selfishly, I wanted Kendall to play ball for Coach Smith and Yolanda Wimbish. And when I said, I'm going to move back to Victoria, and my buddy, who's a product of VISD and Texas A&M, said, you're kidding, right? Their schools suck. I mean, that was 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And that's when we were only in the bottom 30%.
And this was a guy that I graduated with his brother. He graduated a couple years behind us. And he just said, dude, it's amazing we ever got into a major university.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I can tell you that I don't believe I could get into the University of Texas today. No, getting in is the key phrase, because I did fine. I did really well in college, but getting in out of VISD is not like, you're not earmarked like, you're from Frisco, or, you're from, Highland Park, Alamo Heights. Oh yeah. Okay, good. This is a real GPA with real classes.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not. And we don't even really push it anymore. They'll train towards the test, which a lot of the poor failing school districts do. And they think that that's going to help them just by boosting some artificial number. And the reality is the test is the bottom. Test is the bottom of the barrel. It's the state saying, does your student know basic arithmetic? And if you're teaching to the bottom of the barrel, well, of course you're going to have bottom of the barrel outcomes. We should be teaching to way above the test, to actual standards, the ones that you and I had as a child.
Absolutely.
Just teach normal subjects the normal way, and they'll pass the test on their own.
Right. Kevin Leininger says, my dad taught in the public school system for 40 years, saw the decline and worked to improve the education system, but sacrificed to send his 9 kids to parochial schools. No doubt raised a nice Catholic girl. 9 kids?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of money for private school.
That is, absolutely.
As much as we complain, I say it often, once a month, it's very expensive. But then in hindsight, they're not spending as much per student as VISD is.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had heard, we always hear 6160 or 6190, whatever the number is. And then you find out what the feds send or what the states and whatever the number ends up being. And then we were told Governor Abbott rounded that number up to about, on average, 15,000 per student in the state of Texas. Yeah. And then we find out that our actual number is more like 17 and that half of it is debt.
A good chunk. Yeah. They brought in over 30 million in debt last year. Their debt servicing is, for last year was over 30 million that they paid. And this year it's on track to be 40 million that they just have to pay in debt.
Is that typically like paying for the high schools and
no, that's a whole different debt. That's a whole different debt process.
Ugh.
I'm talking just debt on their general ledger.
So this is a good example of if things are like insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I don't think, to be honest, we do the same things over and over again and don't even expect a different result.
Yeah.
We seem as a community to have become complacent that our schools suck and that it's never going to change.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, a lot of this needs to go back on the shoulders of our community. I don't think that there's any one person at VISD that has malicious intentions. It's just easier to kick a can down the road. It's easier to, put makeup on it and make it look a little better. But the community is the root of it. The fact that we have on all the school boards combined, maybe 2,000 votes in these kind of elections,
right?
And at 30,000 plus that vote in the general election, that's 2% turnout on the most important for you and your life and your community election is unacceptable.
Well, I can take you back, and it's an unfortunate truth, but it is the truth. And anybody that's been listening to the program for any length of time knows that we told you here back post Harvey, when the school board made the arrogant and ignorant decision to grab 11 cents of tax money that was not theirs, that they did not earn, that was provided to them later by FEMA and should have been returned to the Victoria taxpayer. And I was told point blank by someone I respect, we have to take it now or we can't ever take it. And I said, well, are you going to give it back now that you've been made whole by FEMA? Yes, with better services and better facilities. And I was like, BS, you're a thief.
Yeah.
And guess what? Victoria, just another of the times, Andy, and you've been here for years, just another of the times that our finger being loosely placed on the pulse of the community, shared with folks the truth, and they haven't passed a bond since. And they won't.
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you can't pass a bond?
No, they won't. And I've tried to be as clear as them as possible for a long time that, the reality is if you can't convince me to vote for it, you're not going to convince anyone else in this town. So let's sit down and figure this out together, because I want to vote for a bond.
I do too, so badly. I have voted for a couple.
I'm not even upset that we spent $200 million. I'm upset that we wasted it. Right? I'm upset that we're not getting the outcomes, that we don't have a great, athletics facility, that we don't have all of these things because we should, because we obviously have the money.
Or we're spending it whether we got it or not. Somebody's got a big Amex bill.
Yeah. Like to see their points.
Wow. Yeah. It's okay. The school board, we're all going on miles.
Yeah.
It's easy. Well, what else? Take a few minutes and tell folks what you want them to know.
Well, there's a town hall, the Victoria Republican Women's tonight at Victoria Country Club. It starts at 6:00 sharp. We're starting it very on time this time. So everyone come out to that. You got, your District 7 candidates. I'll be there. Dwayne Crocker will be there. I think April Butler's speaking. There'll be a few people that will have some time to speak. But the 2 school board races will be there. And I'm really hopeful to hear what the other guys in District 7 have to say.
I want to tell you something that I've said here on the show a few times. And, we don't endorse candidates. And that we try to provide an open forum. So when you're here, we're not necessarily pro Andy, but we're positive with you. Tell folks what you want them to know. I have made the comment, and I still think it stands, and I don't think it's detrimental to what you're trying to do, that between you and your 2 opponents.
I only have one opponent, Margaret Pruitt.
Oh, you only have one opponent.
He's not one of the 3.
I'm running against someone that's been there for a long time.
Shame on me.
That has overseen all of this disaster and has not brought it to light to our community.
Yeah, so
I know she knows all about this stuff.
And she's running for re-election.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can get her. Margaret, if you're listening, which somebody from your camp is listening for sure, give us a call. Come tell us how you spent $200 million and we didn't know it. While everybody's moaning and whining about, how we don't have any money, we spent $200 million.
Yep. And every time they're asked directly, how much is VISD spending? 134 million, 140, they give the same answer over and over again, and they know it's simply not true.
Yeah. How would you feel? Although the community would freak out, I think, because it's free childcare for a third of them. How would you feel about a 4-day school day, 4-day school week?
I think that would be, especially right now, our students need a 7-day school week.
Amen.
Like we're behind, our 4th graders are at a 1st grade reading level on average. So I mean, right now,
Can you
that's
imagine?
a good concept, but not right now.
Can you imagine if the school board said, we're going to a 6-day because our kids aren't learning. We're going. So guess what? When grades improve, you get a weekend.
Yeah.
Until then, you're going to school Monday through Saturday.
Yep.
How about that?
That's a good idea right there.
I think that's a great
and bringing
idea.
back the paddle.
That absolutely, and bring back PE.
Saturday school. I had a few Saturday schools growing up.
Bring back PE.
Yep. Bring back our secondary schools. You know, we have nowhere to send the problem kids, you know, to a safe place. Honestly,
We've been saying that something I've been a fan of that I'm a total proponent of is after your sophomore year, if you're a turd and you're not performing and you're not on track and you don't care, then it's time for us to eliminate you from our public school and give you a voucher, voucher for a GED. You now have a voucher. You can go over to wherever, go to St. Joe and start your life over. He was a quiet boy. He went to St. Joe to start over.
Do they have ice cream over there?
Probably. But I have no problem.
imagine.
I have no problem with sending those kids out of our midst.
Yeah, that's you know, of all the discipline things that happen on a campus, the most important discipline to address is disruption of the class. You know, we go so hard that, especially on like absenteeism and truancy, because that's a money thing. You know, the school wants the money for that, but realistically, that kid's only hurting himself.
No, absolutely.
When a kid's in a classroom cutting up, you're hurting 30 other kids.
Absolutely. Ricky King says, well, how about starting school at like 9 and getting out of school at 4? It just won't work because parents have to drop their kids off on the way to work.
Yeah.
And the parents have to be at work at 8. So that's why it's 7:15, 7:30, 7:45. And that's why they try to let them out around, 3:45, 4 o'clock. And that's why the buses run so slow. I always feel sorry for the kids. I do. You know, we live right on the edge of the county.
I mean,
it blows my mind how my kids will be home. They've mowed the yard. They put up the trash cans, and then I'll see a bus go by. It's sad to me.
Yeah,
it is.
It's, there's so many things, so many good ideas, that we could say, let's try this or try that. But again, the reality is we know what school works. We know how school works. We all experienced it. We lived in a time where almost every school was awesome.
That's true.
We truly did. So the idea that we don't know how to teach kids is simply not true. We're not allowing it to happen.
Amen. Folks, that's Andy Rokovich, and he is running for District 6 against Margaret Pruitt.
And then
early voting starts in 2 weeks, April 22nd.
And there's a town hall tonight, 6 o'clock, Victoria Country Club.
There you go. Go to the club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all going to have that out on the Lido deck?
The club.
I don't know, but I heard they're doing, what are they doing? Flautas. So we'll see.
You can eat.
See if the club can make flautas.
There you go.
Have little toothpicks in them.
There you go, folks. Hey, we appreciate you tuning in. Andy, thank you for your time. And then you told us you were going to come back, and you did. I owe some of our sponsors an attaboy. We'll do that in the morning first thing. Thank you so much for all of our sponsors for the value you bring to the community by helping us provide this forum. We love you guys. Differing opinions spur conversation. Conversation spurs change. I hope you have a great day. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.
Well, I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that,